You're listening to On the Spot. In this episode, Conrad and Terry discuss their experiences, particularly in the military and the sales industry, including struggles like homelessness and how they turned their life around by manifesting goals and maintaining a positive mindset. Have a listen.
Well, I remember you mentioning that you were in MAS in Korea.
Yes.
Was that when you were in like the service, or is that something?
Well, actually, I was a contractor, and the contract ended.
Okay.
They asked me to leave. I didn't want to leave. So I decided, so I met, his name was Sal. He was a really good guy. He promised the world, of course, and I did that for 3 years.
That's how they get you. He was a recruiter, huh?
Yeah, he was. He was really good. He was a really good guy. And it was a really good program.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that time. It was really nice, yeah.
Okay, so in Korea, you were there. I know you did a couple tours, right? You mentioned.
Yeah, I was in there for 17 years total.
In Korea?
In Korea.
Z.
7 years the first time, 10 years the second.
Okay.
The first time I was in the military, I got out, and then I got a contracting job. I worked on a helicopter. I'm a helicopter mechanic by trade. So I did that, and then I went back to the States because, I don't know. My wife got tired of being there, so we went back to the States. And I'm so glad that I went back because I really enjoy Korea. Korea is a great place.
Where in the States did you move to, or like where are you from, essentially?
I'm originally from New Jersey, but my dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. So I'm like a hodgepodge of places. Cool. And one cool thing about the military that I like is that you meet with people from different demographics, right? You might see one guy smoking Newports, the other guy smoking Marlboro Reds. That's how you know what I mean? Like you have it's diametrically opposed people.
Good old menthol versus non-menthol.
Exactly. Put in a situation where they have to coordinate and cooperate with each other. It's kind of cool.
Oh. So Jersey, I've never been to the East Coast.
Yeah. What about you? Where are you from? Are you originally from here?
Yeah, so mom's from here, dad's from Philippines.
Okay.
Born and raised here, but I did spend some time on the West Coast in California.
Okay.
But like the furthest inland I ever went was Vegas. So Vegas.
Nice. I've heard a lot of good stories about Vegas. I heard the food is bananas. Like yeah.
So I remember my first time going out to Vegas. I drove there from California. So from where I stayed to Vegas was a 6 to 7 hour trip. Mm-hmm. And I was expecting the bright lights and everything because coming from Guam, you see movies.
Right.
In Vegas, you only ever see like the strip, right?
Right.
And so I'm expecting the strip right away when I get in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after I got out of the Mojave into Nevada, and I'm like, it's really just desert.
Yeah.
It was a ton of desert until you get to the strip, and that's when all the highways and stuff like that. It was an experience.
Now, I've been in the Mojave Desert. My dad was stationed at Fort Irwin, California, and that's where the Army does their desert training.
Cool.
And so I've been to the Mojave living there with my dad, and on a field rotation exercise with the 101st Airborne, which I was a part of.
Air Force.
Yeah, I was regular Army,
okay.
Air Force Reserve, and Army National Guard. I got fired from a lot of jobs. But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So how I got here was, remember I mentioned MAS.
Right.
Well, my manager, who became the manager of the Far East, has a working relationship with Derek, and so he recommended me to Derek, and I was able to get an interview. And I sat with Derek, and at the end of the interview, he said, "When can you start?" And I looked at my watch and said, "What time is it?" Yeah, been here ever since.
That is crazy because I had a very similar start here, at least. Okay. So, been a part of the automobile industry for 11 years now.
Wow.
8 of those years have been spent in the service department. When I started selling cars in 2018, there was another sales rep here. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but when he was here, he was like, "Man, I told Derek about you. He wants you to come down," and so on and so forth. But I had just started selling cars.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing.
Understood.
In the first place. And just get a feel for that side of the dealership because I've never spent time in that side of the dealership, right? I've always been taking in cars to repair and all that. And then in 2021, I remember Derek saying, "Just come on down, let's talk. You don't have to make any agreements or commitments right now. Just come in and let's talk." And I remember coming in that day, and I was still with another dealership at the time. But I came in that day, and we sat in his office, and we just talked for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And it was intense, man, because I've only ever heard like different stories from previous sales reps that came by or that worked here. And I was a little reluctant at first, but I sat with him and he told me about how he and the rest of the company built the Lancer to become the #1 selling vehicle on Guam, and how he aims to expand and how he wants to help AutoSpot become a better auto spot. And that inspired me to join the team.
Roger that.
Right. And so he's like, so when can you start? And immediately I just texted my manager. I was like, yo, I'm out. And I started here. So
Right.
yeah, it was it's a good experience.
That was really good. And it was really, right. Well, one of the other things that a lot of people don't know, the car business has an unsavory reputation. They can say that we are dishonest, but I've found that not to not be the case. And especially here, working here in this environment, I really have to touch my heart and express gratitude. I'm extremely grateful to work with people like yourself and the team. And this has been a recent revelation because I've traveled, I've been around the world.
Right.
I've worked with people from different races, different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Sales is not an easy profession, right? You have to be built different to do this.
Right.
You're built different.
Slightly broken.
Slightly broken, but not
Still
damaged.
different.
So, I think one of the things that that has helped me tremendously is not sales, but leadership, learning about resiliency and learning about self-leadership, right? So it's because it's very challenging to get beat up every day.
Absolutely.
And a question I have for you, you said that you had a service background, and I've watched you. I think you're a great salesperson. Do you think your service background helped you? That it was, as far as giving you more subject, not giving you more background on the cars? Because I feel like being a mechanic before, even though I worked on aircraft, it kind of helped me with cars.
We related, yeah.
Yeah, because I understand what torque is. I understand, how an engine works, all that kind of stuff. Right. So for me, I find that it helps me when I get those technical customers that ask a lot of pointed questions.
For sure. Right. So I remember when I first started, I made it a point to learn every single piece of information on a particular vehicle.
Right.
And I broke that down into the ridiculous by trim versus transmission versus engine inside of the vehicle, because I thought these are questions that customers would have.
Right.
And granted, you do get them, right? I think they're like the 1% that'll ask you, is this a 5.3 or 4.6? You know what I mean?
Right.
Engine size. And it's nice to have that knowledge. But where I find my previous service skills coming in handy is when the deal or the sale is made, vehicle's delivered, and then the customer has a question about the car and later.
After, yes.
So that's where my service experience comes into play, I think.
Right, I think so. So since you've been back, I remember that you left for a little while. You came back. You seem like reinvigorated. You seem like a different person,
man. So I remember coming here to sell cars.
Right.
And then Derek knew that I had service experience, so he asked me to assist with the service team.
And you got.
So I went into service here for a couple of years. And that's my strong suit, is something that ties into what Rich always tells us whenever we deliver a vehicle and have a servant's heart.
Right.
I
love that. I love
that. I don't know where it came from, to be honest, but I remember him starting to message that every time we would sell a car. He would message a servant's heart. And that's how I like to view things in everything that I do.
100%.
Right. So coming back into sales, I don't view it as, I gotta sell this person, but how can I serve this person?
I love that. And I one of the things that happens in the sales industry, I'm not being boastful. Please don't take it that way. But I've done well. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think that helped me is that I read some books on it, and one of the top selling person on planet Earth says that he does not sell, he helps. Right. He helps people. Right. And once I made that transition, I stopped worrying about hitting my quota or hitting my numbers or competing against anyone, but just just showing up at work and being authentic and being caring and actually care. I mean, I don't want to use profanity, but giving a damn about people,
right?
In this, and it really, and I think people can sense that. Like they can sense that you take this serious, but not like where you're like intense, but you take it serious, like you really want to help, you really want to engage. And I've seen some of your reviews that you get, and I want to give you your flowers, Conrad, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
I mean, I appreciate that, but if we're looking at a true come up, I think from when I was last here, you were still relatively new. Right. And I mean, I don't know if I'm able to share your background, but
Please do.
because I remember you sharing stories about being homeless, and that struggle and that come up, right? And you getting here, and you didn't even have a vehicle at the time. I remember you bought the Mirage.
Yeah.
I had the Mirage, and I remember you saying that one day, because I had just gotten my vehicle at the same time too.
Yeah, you had a nice one, right?
Yeah, man. And you were like, yeah, one day I'll be there. And I don't like to boast and stuff like that. But seeing you come from being homeless to working here to sitting in a Mirage hatchback, not a G4, you know?
I'm almost 6'2".
Yeah. Into the Canyon that you have now is a great vehicle, man. And it's inspiring.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
And that just puts
makes me cry, man.
it just puts into perspective the time and the commitment that you need to get to where you want to be. And I'm sure that owning a Canyon and being top sales is not the end for you.
No, not at all.
Dude, I remember when you saw that Mirage out here with the sign on it.
Oh, really? Yeah. That was actually my car.
Yeah.
You know, that was that. You know, and I remember like just trying to figure out tips and tricks, because one of the things that people don't mention in the car business is that when you're a newbie, that there's some hazing. You know, like
For sure.
that people send you on missions that lead to nowhere. They do that in the military too. You know, and it's also a test and a testament to how bad do you want it, right?
True.
And one of the things that I try to shy away from is when new people looking for the hack, looking for the quick. You know, hard work still works.
Yeah.
Coming early, staying late, mentoring with people who have gone the path before you, it still works. And what I like you said, my goals have changed. What I like to do, and what my vision is to build a team of deadly assassins. And I say that all the time. I get it from Andy Elliott, right? So I'm a Andy Elliott fan.
Yeah.
I paid all the money. He says, cut the check. I forgot how he says it. Something about cutting the check to get for success, right? To compress time, right? When you pay the money to pay for training and you invest in yourself, you compress the time it takes to get from where you are to where you want to go. And that eclipses the car business. I've noticed that not only my personal relationships have gotten better, me and my spouse, you know what I mean? And also my interaction with people, because now I realize that because I'm online, I have to watch how I act now. Right? I can't. I remember there would be times when I've been standing in line and I would act impatient, or I would say certain things. Now I'm mindful that person one, maybe that person's having a bad day, and number two, let's not forget they might be a potential customer.
That's true.
Right.
And it's crazy how situations like that can, alter your mindset.
100%.
It's not just, I got to act this way because X, right? It's more on a deeper level. It becomes you. It's almost like a manifesting stuff. Right?
So I love that word.
Yeah.
I love that word. That's a good segue after this. But keep going. I want to, what do you call it? Bookmark that, because I want to come back to manifesting. Cool. That plays a part in how I did what I did. And I'll go into that a little bit.
So I've never really been a fan of manifesting things until I saw that my approach to things is almost in line with that. So what I mean to say is that since I was younger, believe that if you work hard enough, you will achieve your dreams, right? And to this day, I still believe it's true. But it's more than just putting in the work. You have to embody your vision. Right? You have to become what you want to be.
Right.
And so manifesting it recently has become a topic for me to sit down and reflect each day.
Yes.
Because it's very easy to get discouraged.
100%.
Especially in this trade, because you look at others and you're like,
we get punched in the face all the time, every day. Yeah. Right.
And sometimes it's by a coworker who you see is succeeding more than you, and it's only human nature to be like, man, that could be me, or that should be me.
100%.
Right? But instead of viewing it that way, you take it a step further and say, I aspire to be that.
Right.
I can be that, and I will be that. And then that just kind of changes your mentality, and you start to subconsciously, right, do things that will end up leading you to that.
Roger that.
Path.
But you know what? I think another salesperson got nominated for Peakler's Best, right? I told him straight up, I said, I'm hating on you, but, and they said, why are you hating on me? I said, because I feel like that could have been me. But since it's not, I'm going to support you.
Right.
Right. And I learned that, I got that from a Harvard Business Review article with Tom Brady. He talks about, Tom Brady, everybody knows Tom Brady is,
Everybody
right?
knows.
He talked about, what he talked about in the article? He talked about that when he wasn't on top, when he was a second string. He said he played his position, right? He supported whoever was there.
Dog, yeah.
And then when it came time for him, everyone saw how he behaved, so they were more supportive. But let's go back to that manifesting thing.
Cool.
All right. In the homeless shelter, there was another person in the shelter with me, and I'm going to see him in Saipan. The full circle, right?
Okay.
So while we were in Saipan, he was working for G4S. I was still waiting on my documents. I was waiting on my DD Form 214. I was waiting on a birth certificate, all my documents, so that I could prove that I'm a U.S. citizen and I can get back in the workplace. And when he told me the advice he gave me and the advice I would give anyone, he said, grow where you're planted. That's what he said to me. Right, so we're sitting there, we're doing our masterminds, we're doing that affirmations, meditation, all that stuff, right? So the first thing that happened for me was I became the supervisor of the shelter, where I was responsible for all of the people. Yeah. And this is before, and I didn't have a license. I know this probably wasn't, but I manifested.
Right.
Transportation. I had a car that I could drive because I would take them all to their appointments, and they let me drive without a license. I don't know why they did that. They're now defunct. They let me drive without a license, and I took care of people. And I didn't have a job. Yeah. But because I put it out there, I was able to I actually painted the shelter, got paid for that. Yeah. Right. While I was there. Yeah. Right. People would come and I did odd jobs, $40, $50 a day or whatever it was. I found that if you're willing to work and manifest, oh my God. But there's something, I can almost teach this. Okay. So there's 3 modes. You have your imagination, you have affirmation, and you have scripting. All right, so you have imagination where you sit and you visualize your ideal reality, right? Then you have affirmations where you speak what you seek until you see what you said. Yeah. You can actually talk about what your desired outcome is long in advance of it happening, right? And you have to step into the character of the person who would live the life of your manifestation right. in advance. While everybody was looking at you like, well, this guy, what is this guy delusional? Yes, it is delusional in the beginning until you start stacking up those wins. Right. And the last one, I believe I talked about scripting, right? I used to write down affirmations, right? But before that, I used to write down goals. And believe it or not, it's scary. They come true most of the time, right? Yeah. And then I realized that I wasn't thinking big enough. So now I'm writing bigger goals and doing bigger affirmations. And some of the top people in our dealership, they do the same thing. Yep. And I was like, wow. When we talked about it, it was like, wow. But I'm gonna shut up now. I
was gonna ask, when you're scripting things down, have you ever written something specific?
Yes.
And watched that thing come true?
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
All right, I can share several times. All right, the very first time, back in 1990, I want to say. I'm sure how old I am. Cool. All right, I was in the Army, right? Mm-hmm. And I was making $25,000 a year. I listened to Brian Tracy, and Brian Tracy is a sales trainer, but he also talks about the spiritual side. Everything comes from the spiritual. Mm-hmm. Everything was a thought first before it became real. That microphone, the chair you're sitting in, was a vision in someone's mind before it became real. So the thing I did was I would write down in the present tense, I, Terrell, earned $50,000 a year. I, Terrell, earned $50,000 a year. I had no way of that money coming because I was in the Army, fixed income. I made $25,000. I was E5 in the Army. I, Terrell, earned $50,000. I, Terrell, earned $50,000. I, Terrell, earned $50,000, right? Kept writing it. 90 days later, they had a drawdown, the first Gulf War, right? And I was able to stay in Korea, get a job as a contractor, and guess how much I paid? $50,000 a year. All right, the second time I did it, inflation, right? Okay. So I'm working as a mechanic now. I'm in Kentucky, and I said, you know what? That's the thing that happens. That's the thing that you have to be cognizant and careful of is that when you manifest, once you get what you want, most people fall back. Even in Christianity, they call it backsliding. Mm-hmm. It's the same principle. Like when you say you set a goal, then you accomplish the goal, and then you know what? You start getting comfortable. You start doing the habits and the actions that put you back to where you were prior to that, right? So the second time, I was making around 50, 55, 60. Cool. And I said, you know what? Let me try a bigger number. So I, Terrell, earned 150. I, Terrell, earned 150. I, Terrell, earned 150. I, Terrell, earned 150. Every day, without fail. About the same time, 90 days later, the second Gulf War kicks off. Right? And guess how much I made?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say 150. 200.
180.
180. Okay, damn.
180,000
Dang.
for 2 years.
Okay.
Right? And then I fell off because I stopped doing the practice. So that if I could share one thing with anyone, everything works, but you have to work it.
Okay.
Right? Even if we go back to Christianity works if you work it. Right? Now, but what people get mixed up and lost in the sauce, and they think manifesting is not that. It's part of Christianity. If you understand that before Jesus performed every miracle, what did he do? He gave thanks to the Father.
Right.
He would say, all right, and in the Bible itself, a lot of people don't want to tell you this or share this as an inside scoop. John 14:12. Verily, verily, I say unto you, all these works that I do, greater works than these ye shall do, because I go to the Father. Now, how is that interpreted? How I interpret that is, you can do what I do. Because who was that guy that walked on water with Jesus? Was it Peter? I think it was. Somebody, I can't remember. Somebody walked on water with him, right? And it was the faith and belief, right? So it all this ties together. The writing, the affirmations, the scripting, all have to start with belief, right? Every religion works if you believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Have faith.
Yeah, have faith, right?
And that wraps up episode 1. Watch new episodes every week. Thanks for joining us on the spot.